Your body isn't broken, but your system is. Here's the exact steps you need to take to lose the next 20 pounds and keep it off long term. You're going to have a lot of voice cracks through this video, but these are going to be the exact next steps that you need to take to see the results that you've wanted to see your whole life. And who am I to talk? I'm not this, PT with shredded abs, right? I've struggled my whole life with my weight, and I know exactly how hard it can be to be in that start position. I understand what it's like to sit down and cover your stomach with a pillow. I understand what it's like to put clothes on and hate the way that you look in them. I understand what it's like to have to cover yourself up in oversized clothes because you don't like how you look. I understand every single part of it. But I've also been through that experience, and I've got myself into really good shape. I've done photo shoots, I've competed in high rocks, I've ran half marathons. And that's, a lad who at 12 was over 100 kilos, that sort of way, who hated how he looked, who isolated himself from friends just because he didn't feel like he fitted in, that sort of way. So I've been in your exact position, and I've been through the journey, and I know exactly where you're at right now, and I know how the pain feels of not liking how you look in the mirror, having no confidence, and ultimately, feeling like your body's broken and you're never going to get there because you've tried so many diets in the past. If we look at what we do, so obviously it's crazy to think about, back when I hated how I looked, right? I never would have thought I'd be exactly where I am right now. I never thought I'd be helping people, literally hundreds of people. Like, I've been coaching 5.5 years. And in that time frame, I've worked with over 100 people per year. I've been booked out for months on end. And I've helped hundreds of people escape that cycle and finally love how to look and finally love how to feel. And be able to do that long term and not go back to square one. And that's a massive benefit that I've been able to bring. And I think that's a lot of the time it's because I've been in your position. I'm not someone who come out the win with shredded abs, and I push this a lot. I know exactly what it's like to have those feelings, to struggle with the issues that we struggle with, and ultimately, over time, learn how to build strategies around that and fix them. So if we look at the things that we struggle with the most, a lot of the time is it really is focusing on the sort of like the wrong things at the wrong times. So for me, I always just try to get the next quick fix. I thought the next 6 or 8 weeks would change the entire trajectory of my lifespan, and it could do if it was long term, but I could never stick to it long term. So I tried every quick fix under the sun. Slimming World, fucking Weight Watchers, shred challenges, chicken rice and broccoli for days and months on end. But one thing was confidence that I'd actually get the results, but I'd always go back to square one. And that was because I never had the strategies in place to be able to keep it off. Okay, and that's exactly what we've done with Inside Higher Quality Coaching. And what I do is to help you actually build these strategies to make sure that you keep it off long term. Your body isn't broken, but your system is, and this is a big thing that I stand by. So the people who we work with generally think that their body's broken. They feel like they've tried everything, they're not going to get to where they want to be, and no matter how much they try, they're never going to get there. Okay, it takes real skill to learn how to actually get to where they want to be and stay there. Okay, and if you're watching this video, you're already in the right spot because you're already taking the steps in the right direction of, you're probably, if you're landing on my page, you're probably sick of the quick fixes. You know that it's going to take time to get to where you want to be, and ultimately your body's not broken, but you just don't have the belief in yourself to be able to get there. And my goal as a coach is to be able to bring you there. So your current problem is a lot of different things, right? But there's one thing that really, really stands out to me, and I see it a lot in clients, right? And if we go through the whole ins and outs of it, so obviously at the moment you have no accountability. You have no one keeping you accountable to the things that you say that you're going to do. You say you're going to start again Monday, but you never actually get stuck in. You say that right now maybe you're going to start in a new year, or maybe that you're going to start when things quieten down, right? But what I would say is that you can, that in the cycle of excuse after excuse will go on forever. I use that, I've been there, okay? You've tried every quick fix under the sun. You've tried skinny teas, you've tried fat burners, you've tried shred challenges, and maybe you've seen all right results, but it's always brought you back to where you are right now. And ultimately, if it's brought you back to where you are right now, well then it hasn't worked, and that's the blunt truth behind it. A lot of the time I see people that focus on the wrong things. Okay, so They worry so much about the training that they're doing and the movement that they're doing, but they don't look at the Mars bars that they're eating in the evening time, or they don't look at their habits, their food habits, or they don't look at what the weekend looks like. You just look at Monday through Thursday, but you don't look at Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you really miss the most important things, and that's sort of thinking that you have to be good to get to where you want to be. You have very little clarity in terms of the goals that you actually want to achieve. You know you want to lose fat, but you don't know how much you want to lose. You don't know what the weight target is, and you don't know how much you should be losing per week to get there. And when you have, it's sort of like it's like hopping in your car and having just driving, but having no destination. So you're never actually going to get to where you want to be, and you're always going to seem clueless. You also have no idea how to actually get there, right? So like maybe you've tried things before in the past, and every time that you go back to diet and you just go back to what you were doing before, but ultimately this is the big thing that we need to understand, is that it actually hasn't worked because you are where you are right now, okay? And you haven't fixed that underlying problem, okay? You haven't fixed the issues that you haven't fixed the emotional eating, you haven't fixed the falling off track and getting back on track quicker, you haven't fixed the hating the whole aspect of the fitness lifestyle. You haven't fixed those things, and ultimately what you need to do if you want fitness to become part of your life, because it should, right? Fitness shouldn't just be seen as this like thing that comes in for a little bit of time and then it disappears when you get into good shape, because the things that get you there you need to keep there. Maybe not to the full extent, but to the vast majority of it. But you haven't fixed those underlying issues. So if you don't fix those underlying issues, if you don't fix your eating habits, if you don't fix the lifestyle habits that you have right now, they're the reason why you are at the place that you are, right? So we need to look at fixing them first. So this is more like what I focus on is definitely more, it's a lifestyle coaching rather than just being a PT, okay? And the biggest thing for me, so like you're not organized, literally like you're so unorganized, it's crazy, right? So maybe you might feel a little bit attacked listening to this, but when you're unorganized, what happens is basically everything that you do is just all over the place. You have no plan of action into the day with food. You have no plan of action in terms of when you're getting your sessions, and you have no plan of action how you're going to hit, activity targets like step targets and stuff like that, and everything gets very overwhelming. So you may have like goals in place, you may have structures there, but you're actually so unorganized that you can't get to where you want to be. And if you want access to our higher quality workweek training, that's going to help you organize your calendar to make sure you can go and tick off all these goals, then just message me the word hybrid and I will send you that over, okay? If we can move on, so basically if we're moving on, ultimately Cahill, Sarah, right? Two literally life-changing transformations that we worked with, okay? Both of them in the exact same position at the start. Well, slightly different. But Cahill, for example, spent months by himself trying on his own. I remember literally we had a call, I think it was 2023, I want to say May 2023. He decided not to go ahead with coaching, and from there basically he said that he'd give it a go himself, right? I think he was around 100 kilos at the time. And when he came back to me in, I think it was March 2024 when he started, he was literally like 117 kilos. He ended up gaining 17 kilos in pretty much a year. And that was off the back of COVID. He just probably didn't see the value in the coaching at that time, and he thought he could do it himself. Okay? But when he came on board, we started working together. He dropped over 90 pounds. He did a photo shoot and literally seen his abs for the first time in his entire life. And to this day, he still walks around pretty much in this condition. Okay? He still enjoys his training and he does it now. Like, it's just part of his lifestyle now. If we take Sarah in, for example, Sarah in this position here, just off the back of having a baby, really feeling like self-conscious in her own skin. She would take a meltdown every time she put clothes on. I literally remember hearing her taking meltdowns, because Sarah's actually related to me, she's my sister, but she'd be taking meltdowns every time she tried clothes on. She excluded herself, very similar to myself when I was growing up. She excluded herself from people around her because she didn't like how she looked and she didn't want to be put in that situation. She didn't go to events, she had no clothes that fitted her, and ultimately her confidence was rock bottom, like a lot of new moms are, because you're so focused on giving time to your kids and not to you, and you feel like it's sort of what would be the word, like selfish for you to put time and effort into you when everybody else around you needs you as well too. But if you don't show up as the best version of you, you're not giving them 100%, and you could put that in a way where it's actually selfish to take that away from them because they're actually not getting 100% of you. Do you know, sort of way. But anyway, between these two photos, Sarah lost 80 pounds. She got into the shape of her life for a wedding, and as you can see, she looked amazing. And she literally walks around even leaner than that photo now on a day-to-day basis and eats out multiple times a week. She in the meantime has had another child, and she was 4 stone lighter from due date to due date. And it's all because we just showed her how to actually do things consistently, how to make it part of a lifestyle, and how to actually get to where you want to be. And the funny thing is that she actually never trained in the gym. So like when people say that they don't have time for the gym, a lot of the times the lifestyle factors that you need to look at. So what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video. I want you to rate yourself red, yellow, green in these areas. So green is obviously, consistent. I do it 7 days out of 7 days, or I do it like my allotted time in terms of what I feel like I can do. So I don't expect you to train 7 days, but if your goal was to train 3 times a week and you train 3 times a week consistently all the time, that would be great. If it's yellow, you miss a couple of times, maybe it's a little bit inconsistent, and if it's red, you don't do any of it, then obviously we need to look at the areas. Okay, so what I want you to look at is, do you track calories consistently? So are you tracking consistently? Red, yellow, green. Rate it for me. Daily movements. So is it red, yellow, or green? Again, rate it for me. Sleep and stress. So how do you manage your sleep and stress? Do you get 7 to 9 hours sleep per night? Are you very stressed all the time? Red, yellow, and green. Is that something that you need to look at? Okay, because they can both play a massive effect in terms of how people react to situations through the week with food and lifestyle factors. In terms of adherence, what we want to look at doing is rating things. So adherence through weekends and events. Again, big thing that we see with clients is that they actually are really good Monday to Thursday, but really poor Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and those habits aren't going to let you get to where you want to be. So how would you rate that? Red, yellow, green. And then consistency with training. So are you actually consistent with the training that you've set? So do you train 2, 3, 4 times a week, whatever it may be, and are you actually consistent with that? So can you stick to it long term? What I want you to do is rate these, or message me them on Instagram, okay? So I can come back to you and say, right, okay, well, these are the things that you're looking at, these are the things we need to look at improving, okay? So we're going to actually have action steps off the back of this, okay? In terms of the way that we sort of work things, right? So our framework, right? Our framework within higher quality coaching, and the reason why our clients lose 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 60 pounds, 70 pounds, 80 pounds, 90 pounds. I've even had clients lose over 100 pounds, okay? And like I've had, for example, Rachel, she's not actually on this, she's back at the start, but in the space of January to May, she lost, I don't know exactly the pounds weight, but she lost 5 stone. She ran a 5k, 10k, half marathon, and did a physique photo shoot in the space of 5 months. She's also a single mom who has 2 kids, who works full time, and she's in college. So if you tell me that you don't have time, it doesn't slide. Okay, that doesn't slide. That excuse doesn't slide with me, because it's all about your priorities at that time. Okay, but if we look at our phases in terms of what we work through, so our reform phase, what we want to focus on here, what you can do right now is looking at the habits, right? So habits like steps, like tracking food, like eating protein like hitting towards protein targets, like working towards say for example like better quality sleep, making sure that maybe our weekend habits are acting as if we are the person who we want to be in 6 months time. So what we want to look at here is this transform phase is realistically probably about a year away, being realistic, right? For the vast majority of people, it's going to be about a year away, okay? If you fast forward a year from now, right, how do you look, how do you feel, how do you perform, okay? Now we need to look at replicating that stuff right now, okay? Not exactly that stuff, but we need to build stepping stones to that, okay? So, for example, if that person has a 6-pack, maybe they're 50 pounds lighter, maybe they fit into a size 8 jeans, okay? What do they do on a daily basis to help them get there? Okay, so what do they do to help them sustain it? And then we need to focus on building those stepping stones back. Okay, so say for example, maybe we need to look at, generally it's the movement. So it's going back to these things that we looked at. Okay, so it's going back to the consistent tracking, the daily movement, the sleep and the stress, the adherence at weekends, and the consistency with training, because these are the things that are going to be helping you make massive steps in the right direction. But it's just about making sure that we can get them achievable to you and build the strategies around them with you. Okay, in this reform phase, generally what we work a lot on with clients is like, we expect you to fuck up. Okay, like you're a human, we expect you to fuck up a lot. Okay, but what do we focus on here is that when we do fuck up, we don't just sweep it under the carpet. Okay, we learn that, okay, well, there's learning objectives from all of these mistakes, right? If you went and got a takeaway and went massively overboard with food, because your boss pissed you off in work, then that's understandable. It's okay, that happens, right? But we need to understand, why did we do that? Well, that's technically emotional eating, right? And we want to look at, right, when someone pisses us off, how do we manage that better? How do we not relate back to food? And food is a big emotional touch for a lot of people. The reason for that is because when you're literally born, the first thing your parents do is shove a ball in your mouth because they want to shut you up. So when you're sad, you relate things back to food. When you win, you relate things back to food. When you celebrate, you relate things back to food. When you feel okay, you relate things back to food. It's completely normal. But what we need to try and do is build strategies around that so that you don't use food as that fuel anymore. Okay, because it's making you feel the way that you're feeling right now. When we look at taking the next steps, right? So we move fast forward into our perform phase. So generally off the back of your reform phase, you'll be at your end goal, whether that be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 pounds then, okay? Then we'll start to look at bringing you into a reverse diet. What that means is basically a reverse diet will make sure that you do not gain the weight back, okay? So off the back of this, what we'll do is we'll start to focus on pushing calories back up to maintenance. We'll pair that with a performance-based goal. That's why it's called the perform phase, because generally what we want to try and do is help you build a lean lifestyle, right? So the lean lifestyle project. We want to help you build a lifestyle that's going to keep you lean for life, okay? And then off the back of that, as we start to work calories back up to maintenance, then we'll focus on getting you into the transform phase, okay? So what we focus on doing there is building the skills that you have, that you need to be able to keep the weight off for good, never go back to square one, okay? Things like managing your, say for example, like managing food without having to track, okay? Keeping day-to-day, daily movement high so we don't fall back into old habits. Making sure you find a way of building a lifestyle that you actually enjoy that's going to keep you fit for life, okay? And these are the things that we want to focus on, because if you don't focus on these things, right, you're never actually going to get to where you want to be, okay? And that's I know it's a scary thing to think about, and I know it's a scary thing to say, but it's true. Do you know? So we're like, if you constantly just keep going back and forth through the same stages all the time, you're never going to get to where you want to be, because at some stage you have to break that cycle. And by the looks of things now, is going to be that time. So initially, straight away, what you need to think about to lose your next 20 pounds plus is going to be this reform phase. Okay, we need to focus on making sure we're doing these things consistently, and I'll talk you through them once you message me them over on Instagram. But who am I to talk about this, right? So obviously, like, the thing is, like, I've been where you are right now, right? So I've been in this position, right? I've been in probably the worst. I've been there. Like, I've been in the worst position anyone would want to be. I hated how I looked. I hated how I felt, and I felt like a prisoner of my own body. But I took action on it, and I made sure that I didn't give up. And now I have people just like us get to where I want to be. I've done photo shoots. I've run half marathons. I'm running another half marathon. I'm going to break this one by 14 minutes. I'm going to break 140 half marathon. So I'm doing this again in February. I've done high roxes, I've done doubles, I've done singles. Again, I'm doing another next year. I'm going to break that as well too. I've coached people to go through photo shoots. I've coached people to literally change their lives. I've coached people from going through a place of being so unhealthy and overweight that they struggle to have kids to be able to have kids again. Okay, I've coached people who've struggled with endometriosis, PCOS, to be able to heal that naturally as well too. So like I've worked with a lot of people, and in the last 5.5 years, over half a decade, I've worked with a lot of people. I can guarantee you're not broken. I can guarantee you're going to be able to get to where you want to be. We just need to focus on changing the things that aren't working previously. Okay, you can't go back in the same cycle of the things that you're doing day in, day out and get there, because it's just never going to happen. Now, obviously, we've given you some pointers to go and do and bring back to me to be able to sort of see if we can help you take those next steps. All I want you to do off the back of this then, if it's something that you actually want to take the guesswork completely out of the coaching process, if you want to take, if you actually don't want to be like Cahill and feel like you can do it by yourself, and you want to take that guidance and move things 5 steps ahead way faster, then all you need to do is book a call below or message me, call, and we can have a chat about how I can help you. Okay, there's a booking link below in the YouTube in the description, so you can book a call there, or you can just message me directly on Instagram and say call, and then we can have a little chat back and forth. I know obviously you watch this video, and we can have a chat back and forth about how I can help you. Okay, but if you do have any questions in the meantime, you know exactly where I'm at, and I hope you're having a good day.